All right. Let me see. I see my people there. Hope this goes away. Just do this for now. Welcome. This is our second workshop of the year. For those that are not aware, we did a whole series last year of 10 workshops with the hopes that help nonprofit capacity building within Norwalk and beyond. So here's my colleague Katie from Norwalk Redevelopment. And Katie, you wanted to say a couple of things before we
I
start?
just wanted to welcome also those of you who haven't joined us before. I hope you enjoy it, get a lot out of it, and continue to join. If you're interested in workshops that we did last year or the January one, there are recordings of those workshops on the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency website. So you can always go find them there. But what I really did want to also mention is this, many of you probably have already heard about it, but the city and the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency are circulating a survey about housing in Norwalk. So it's meant for folks who call Norwalk their home. We are going to be collecting responses through tomorrow. So there is still about 24 hours. I think it takes about 10, 15 minutes to take. There's some postcards there. There's one here. There's a code on it you can scan. There's also the URL code on here as well. Anybody online, if you haven't received any information about the survey, but you're interested in learning more about it, let me know and I can send you a link to the survey. And if you know of anybody who lives in Norwalk, if you work with anybody, your colleagues, your staff team, or have any clients that work in or live in Norwalk that you might think might be interested in taking it, please feel free to share it with them as well.
And then I hope to steal a chair from you, chair issue, that's nice.
That's good.
Yeah. We had a lot of back lines, which like, come over there, so make it easier, right? Yes. And it's. But you're more than that.
Thank you. Look at more shares. So, thank you, Katie. Oh, you got more chairs. You need help? Awesome. This is good. I'm glad to have you here. I think that leadership is a subject that a lot of people are interested in. So I'm so glad we're doing this workshop. I would like to welcome the new people and the people that are keep on returning to these presentations. So a few things about the workshops. First of all, for me, we have created a series of 10 workshops this year again. This is our second one. Last time we talked about data and how to make it your best friend. We have the video for that if you ever want to watch it. Although I thought, just watch it with the volume low because I'm kind of yelling in the presentation a little bit. It's the first time we use the owl, so I didn't really have a sense of how it captures your voice. So this time I'm going to try to keep it down a little bit more. And today we're going to talk about leadership, and then we will move into using coaching to empower your team, and then keeping your team accountable. This is the second one that we do on keeping your team accountable. Then in May, we will have our second presentation on conflict management, and then we'll move into themes that are more related to agencies and nonprofits administration. So what we want to do is really provide everyone with a good resource for things that you may not necessarily have in-house, like HR and, training and those kind of things. So a few things that I usually ask my people that are here, and the ones that come all the time already know that. I ask them to be present, try to stay away from your electronic device. They come up with the mentality that we all can change things around us, and we always, the only thing that we have power of changing is ourselves. So at the end of the day, if we need to make tough decisions and make changes, that's what we need to do, right? But the change starts with us. Also, I try to make these workshops very interactive so that we can all learn from each other. So participation is key. When we are here, I will ask you a few questions and I would love to hear your answers and what you think, because I do take a lot from my audience when I do my presentations. This should be a safe space to share. So when people share, of course, we ask you to keep things in the room and that you are also have the mindset of being accepting of each other's opinions. So what we do is we practice the yes and. If we don't agree with what somebody's saying, we don't have to say but. We say yes, and this is what I think about it. So little things that I think would make our workshops more special. Um, so people that are remote, I don't get to see everybody in the camera, and because I'm in front of the audience over here, hybrid is a little bit more, complicated to be interactive. If you have a question, just shout it out. Don't be shy. Just say, I want to say something, and go ahead and do it. Interrupt me, because I won't get to see your questions on the chat or your hands up. We will have 1 5-minute break in the middle of the presentation. For the new people that are here, the restrooms are located on the right over there in the hallway. If you need to take a break, that's perfectly fine. We will be sending the PowerPoint slide after probably in a couple of days through email to you, so you have these materials for yourself. And we will also send you a link for a survey to get your feedback, which is the best way for me to improve on the presentations and know what is it that people want to learn about. Right. So our agenda for today, we are going to talk about what is leadership, what keeps individuals from pursuing leadership roles, what are the different kinds of leadership styles there are out there. Then we'll take a break, and then we are going to talk about personality traits that can help a person become a leader, and the personality traits that can help a person on becoming a leader. I have to say that the potential and the best personality traits are more than the shortcomings. So I have a lot more slides on that. Finally, but not least, for people that are already in leadership roles, how they can support others to step into leadership roles, and what are the things that you could be doing to help one another, right? I mean, basically, if you're a manager, you need somebody to kind of follow, right? So being the only leader in the room is not good for you. You need to build your leadership within your working organization and so on. So, but let's talk about leadership. Let me move this bit. I like to say that leadership tends to be a subject that people talk about a lot. And while there are thousands of books on leadership and there are thousands of articles out there about leadership, it's to be a little bit of a mystery. Like, how do I get there? How do I think about leadership? What makes me a leader? How do I become a leader, right? It's just not something that is kind of like flows through our minds and we will know exactly what people are talking about. It tends to be a thing that is a little like a pie in the sky. What is leadership about anyway? So hopefully, I think that what I want you to get from this workshop is to know that my belief around leadership is that everyone is a leader. And we can be leader in different aspects of our lives and different stages of our lives. Whether that is connected to our role in leadership, that's different. But we all have the capacity to be leaders in different areas of our lives. And we have the possibility of choosing to be one. That's perfectly fine as well. The leadership does combine skills, qualities, and attitudes that are important to think about. And these are the things that I want you to keep on thinking about and analyzing as we have the conversation today, because that's going to help you figure out where you are. Where is your stage right now in leadership as you grow? So one clarification I want to make is the difference or continuing between having a leadership attitude and mindset and having a leadership role. So you can be a leader, but not necessarily have a leadership role in your organization, right? But yet you can't do one without the other. You have to have and start creating your leadership mentality way before you even become a leader in an organization, before you're given the title, before you can I close here? Before you are given the better pay and so on. It is kind of a journey, something that you have to start thinking about and thinking about yourself in those terms before you even get to be a leader by name, right? Another clarification that I want to make is that usually there is a lot of distinction between management and leadership. Managers are the ones that have to provide the outcomes of the business, what they're doing. And leadership tends to be talked about, more creating those opportunities for people and have them come together, support the vision, and so on. What I want to say is that I personally believe that dividing the roles between managers and leaders really doesn't help people that are managers to think of themselves as leaders and become those leaders. And that's the reason why I prefer to work with middle management, because I think that people can really acquire their skills early on. So when they become a manager, or I mean a leader, they are equipped to do the job. Many of us probably know leaders that could do quite a bit of learning before, getting there. And so I think that we need to start thinking about it directly, because leaders also are accountable for results. It's not that you can separate the two things. Managers need to be leaders, and leaders need to come up with results just like managers. So that's my personal clarification there. But if we were to talk about the leadership philosophy, it involves many things. One of the things that leaders do is setting goals. The next one is aligning these goals with the individuals and the group goals that you have, right? You set a goal, you kind of like want to you decide you're going to like have this big vision, then you have to engage people and align people to be able to get to that vision and the mission that you're following. And the last one, this is what happens when I. And the last one is that ability to renew the organization and the belief and the growing of the mission as you go along, right? Organizations and businesses go through different phases as they advance. Sometimes you are at the peak and you are acting and moving along very fast, very well. Then things become dormant, and then things become difficult, and so on. And all these cycles require that the leader really manages and renews the organization by either bringing new resources, new ideas, and getting older people to be part of this vision. So a lot of people want to know if leadership is something that can be that you're born with, or whether it's something that can be, made. But I have to say that leadership can be innate. Some people have the natural tendency to be leaders since they are very young, but it basically can be developed. Some people may believe that they are not set to be leaders at all. They want to be leaders, but they don't think they have the personality traits that are necessary. Yet, I have to say, this can all be developed over time. The only time in which you don't have to develop it is when if you don't want to have those kind of roles, and that's perfectly fine as well. I mean, we need all kinds of people, and all kinds of people are what make us whole. So that's just a little about developing and being. So anyone can have the leadership skills with the proper training and so on. So here I have my first question to the audience, which is two questions actually, but you can answer whichever one you feel more comfortable with. First of all, what beliefs do you have about leadership? What is it when you hear the word leadership? What comes to mind for you? Or if you are a leader and you want to kind of keep moving on, what keeps you from pursuing these leadership roles, whether they are internal or external barriers? So, because it's easier for me, I would love to take somebody in the audience to share with them what they think about these two questions.
Well, you already said what I think is you gotta want it. If you don't want it, you're not gonna be able to follow. And a lot of people that I meet, a lot of times don't want it. Used to be, there's what do and they help with that.
Absolutely, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah. You have to want it. For leadership, you have to want it. What else? Yes.
So for me, it would be empowering the people in my organization. I think that that's really powerful, that a leader can do that. So for me, that's a key piece.
A key piece of leadership.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
For me, leadership is everything everyone said and what you mentioned, but in addition, I think for me, a good leader is someone that's constantly learning and growing, attending workshops, like all of us right here.
Mhm.
And just learning new tools and not getting stuck in a one level leadership mindset, but being able to have layers to that and growing to be able to understand how to work in diversity or how to help in any types of areas with different people that you encounter with. So just constantly growing for yourself as a leader.
Okay, that's great. Awesome. Go ahead.
Leadership, are people who are, good communicators,
Uh-huh.
able to bring people together and share ideas freely. And, actually communicate a vision kind of clearly so everybody can understand. So, it's really fun.
Awesome. Hey,
I feel that a leader needs to also be present. You can't run an organization if you don't know what's going on in your own building. And so you have to be present and engaging with your staff.
that's great. Awesome. Does anybody want to share what you think keeps you from becoming a leader or people from becoming a leader?
Responsibilities.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people don't want that responsibility of being that leader, that one voice, or the organizer, or the one to be responsible if things doesn't go, according to plan.
Yeah, responsibility is every one.
Also, yeah, responsibility, pressure,
Yeah,
those are the issues.
absolutely. Anything else? I heard somebody else talking about. No? How about people? Michelle, your hand is up.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna add,
Hold on 1 second, Michelle.
those who, sometimes I fear prevent people from.
Fear.
going after it. Fear.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Michelle.
I think that if people are deterred because they think it's going to take too much time and too much effort. And they're not sure how to delegate responsibilities so it's not overwhelming.
Right, right. So there are a few things that come up, right? I feel that the training is key. Like because if people are trained, they can lose that fear. They can kind of also feel that they can manage the work. Yeah, and like on top of your head, leadership can look like a lot of work. And is it even worth it for, $5,000 more a year, right? Like those are the kind of things we think. I mean, if I'm gonna be managing 3 people versus just managing myself, do I really want that? Is it really worth it, my time, right? Anybody else in the remote group that wants to share? Okay, well, so go ahead. Yes.
My only other add to that is that sometimes imposter syndrome, you think that you can't, or you're just not good enough for whatever reason, I feel like you don't have all the levels, thus.
Yes,
If I don't have it all, why even try?
absolutely. Thank you. Sharon.
I just find like with leadership, just something I'm going through, like this particular job, leadership, for me is greater when I can train someone to help.
Mhm.
That's my whole goal. I had just sent a text to my group, proficiency group, but I said, I need someone so that if I'm sick, someone that knows what I know. If something happens, and like everybody's saying, no one wants to take accountability, no one wants the responsibility, so they run from it. So I try to train them, teach them that it's okay,
Mhm.
you can still blame me,
Mhm.
but somebody has to step in because if my upper management is asking me for something, I can't deliver it because I was ill or was like, there's nobody else. It's like, wow. Then they say to me, so who is helping you
Right.
or whatever? So I think with leadership, it can't be just a you situation. not me, I, well, you know, I am team, as they use the word, you know, that's the thing with leadership. I don't mind being a leader, but I'm looking to not be the only person.
Right.
You know, every day.
Yeah, I know someone that says I train my replacement every day at work.
So I was gonna say, for me, it's about that always continuous improvement, understanding that I'm not always going to make the right decision. But if I don't make the right decision, I'm gonna do the best to say, okay, this wasn't the right thing. I'm gonna go back, we're gonna look at it, but again, it's always about that continuous improvement. And succession plans, to your point, succession plans are key. Because I'm always looking, you never know what the next day is going to bring, and you need to make sure that your staff is up to date, their training and everything, and that somebody can step into your shoes. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think with all these great answers, we're done with the workshop. You guys got. That's nothing else to share. Yes, all of you are perfectly right, and I have a few other tips, and we're gonna keep talking about them. So keep thinking about this line of thinking. You guys are the right people in the room, and I'm so glad to have you here. So the Harvard Business Review in 2020 asked people what was it that kept them from taking on leadership roles, and they found three main reasons. The first one was interpersonal risk. People fearful of hurting their relationships with their colleagues. So within organizations, it's very hard to step into a supervisory position when you have been working with other people as a peer, and people worry about that, right? So having the right training for the new supervisors is so essential because you can help them step into feeling more comfortable with that and really being able to work with the people that one time were their coworkers and now are going to be supervised by them. So people worry about that. The next other is image risk. People fear what they will think about themselves, and a lot of them, and a lot of this is associated with the negative perception we have about leadership. So if you haven't had good examples of leadership in your life, more likely you are going to think that if you become a leader, the people that you're working with are going to see you in a different manner that is not favorable. And last but not least is the responsibility part of it. The risk of being blamed if the group fails, right? What does it say about myself, right? And that's, again, it's a mentality kind of thing because people are thinking that as a leader, they are responsible for everything and all. And you are at some point for the final results, but then but really, the right leader is the leader that is involving other people in decisions and so on. So I think a lot of these fears have to do with the already wrong perception we have about management and how do they look like, right? I don't think there's been like many years. I mean, maybe 20, 30 years of people really becoming trained of what better management looks like, and it keeps on evolving. So, it's something that we need to invest our time in. So here, when I send the PowerPoint, you will have a link to the article if you want to read it yourself. So I think a good introduction will be to talk about different leadership styles. Some of them are more famous than others. And we're going to talk about what are the pros and cons about each one of them. And I'm going to start with the most difficult one and controversial one, which is the autocratic style of leadership. Right? There is one person, let me make this smaller so you guys can see this. There is one person that establishes a clear chain of command and makes decisions with minimal input from the people that are working with that, right? We all know those leaders.
Yeah. It's one of them famous right now.
So, what we think about when we think about the bad leader, that's the kind of thing we're thinking about. Yet, being this kind of leader partially has its advantages, right? The main disadvantages with this type of leadership is that if you have outspoken staff, people that really want to incorporate their thinking, they rebel. They really don't like the supervisor or the leader that is driving them. If you have submissive staff, people that are really good at following orders and just doing that, what happens is that they become too dependent on the leader. And so they don't move a finger without asking the leader. They don't feel confident. Are you from flashbacks or?
All about my God. Yes. Come and talk about them.
We start thinking about people we saw, right? Uh-huh. Style of leadership is doesn't encourage initiative. People do not have initiative, they just and those who have initiative over time become tired and they don't give their opinion anymore, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it is also a big cause of stress for the leader
Yep.
because all the responsibility is on them.
Yeah.
And they feel that they always have to make the right decisions. So if we can help those kind of leaders to become aware, but by helping in teams and making decisions together, they could be in a better place. There's a place and time for being a very directive leader. And we're going to see that after we see all these styles. But it's not something that you can sustainable over time. It doesn't work. At least in today's society, it doesn't work anymore. Maybe in the past, like, management was different back then. The next one is the delegated leadership, also called laissez-faire. Yes, this type of leader is the leader that focuses on the big picture, allowing the team to manage all the daily tasks. Those type of leaders can be very inspiring. Yet at the same time, it works best when you have a very strategic and clear direction for people to follow. The challenge with this kind of leadership is that the leader may seem aloof and like they are not really in touch with the day-to-day reality of what is happening on the ground. Just like you were saying earlier, that leader that is not present, right? A leader that says, okay, guys, this is what you have to do. You do it however you want. You figure it out and then steps away and then comes back once in a while to ask for results, but it's not living the reality every day or what the challenges are. So yes, people do feel empowered, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, well, reality looks a bit different than what you was to accomplish, and it would be good if you came to the table and you talk to us about it. Next one is democratic and participative. This one is the opposite of autocratic, exactly the opposite. The democratic leader, what does is promote teams and group choices. There is a participation and collaboration between the leader and the people that are working with them. Decisions are made together. The responsibility is shared. There is respect, there is mutual and open communication. The decision making is delegated to the staff, and the staff is able to make the choices, and then they come back. It's a two-way kind of conversation. The only setback with this kind of a style is that it's slow. It takes a long time to make decisions because you are working with people and you have to like participate all together to make decisions all the time, and that may take a long time as well. So we also have transactional leadership. And in transactional leaderships, it's not about kind of a style. It has to do with you empower your team, but you're also watching them closely for their performance. So you're giving your team the tools, and then you are looking to see. And if the performance is not great, then there is kind of like a reward and discipline kind of thank you kind of approach. So it's about rewards and consequences, and the key limitation with this kind of leadership is that those that prefer to have autonomy may not be very happy with that kind of leadership because they feel like they're constantly being checked upon, and also with creativity, like people don't feel as creative because they know that they're being measured all the time for Last but not least, there is transformational leadership, and this leadership focuses on self-growth and team growth. It creates environment for personal and professional development for people, promotes success, wants people to feel motivated, be part of the bigger picture. The setback with this kind of transformational leadership is that sometimes you focus so much on the growth, but it's very difficult to have your team accountable for what they are delivering. So it's just also something that important to keep an eye on. Let me see if we can get this. Look, somebody was coming in. So like you can see, none of these different types of leadership are perfect 100% on their own. And what I usually like to bring to the table is something called situational leadership. So situational leadership is a style in which the leader adapts their style to whatever is happening. So if you see on the axis, if the engagement is low, right, and you don't have a lot of time to make a decision, you will use the style of being autocratic and just telling people what to do. You will be more directive. If your engagement is kind of still the low side and you have a little bit more of time, you may be able to sell the idea to your team, and sometimes make them participate on the decisions. Sometimes you want to, and if you have more time and you will have more engagement, you may want to consult them, appeal to their expertise, and talk to them and see what is that you can get from their input to make better decisions. And last but not least, if the engagement is really high and you have a lot of time to make a decision, you can use the more democratic style in which everybody makes a decision together. So really, these styles are all applicable in different ways. And if you use a situational leadership style as you go, okay, you have a question.
And maybe you'll get to it. I like the idea, but how do you go from, I'm pivoting because in this moment, this style isn't working. So now I'm gonna go to this style and have people not think that yesterday you let me do whatever I want. Today it's what I want to do. And it looks like you're crazy when in the moment you just need,
But you're not. What you you set a framework I run before and after school programs. I set a framework for my staff. If I tell them to implement something or say, hey, you need to get this done, and then it doesn't happen, then I go into the autocratic.
right. And I'm not out children and they think I'm the crazy one because I moved from when I'm like, it's not done, so now I'm telling you where I didn't.
I think comes down to your evaluation skills. If you're able to evaluate what's happening at that moment, given the circumstances, given the data that's in front of you, given the pros and cons, I think it allows you to be situational. I think if you do that in a sense where it's compassionate, understanding, with clear direction, I personally don't think someone will look at you like you're crazy. I think they will see you as, wow, this leader's meeting me where I'm at, or meeting the team where we're at in this moment. And so it's basically meeting the situation where it's at.
I appreciate that. That's a good answer. And my the yes and you have to keep your head about it. Because if you're moving from one because you're just annoyed and you're upset as you move to the different style, that's when they think you're crazy. So you have to keep your head as you transition to the next style.
And sometimes, when you're faced with, somebody's coming down on you as the leader, like we have we have a decision to make. And you're doing, because I'm a Democrat all the way, we do it together. But there's times when I have to step in and say, guys, it's done. Because I have a deadline.
Right.
So it's done.
Mhm.
Because I can't sit there for 10 days when we only have 4.
Yes.
That kind of thing. So I do that with my team. I have to.
Right.
And they understand because they know the kind of person that I am, that normally everybody gets a chance to say something.
Mhm.
But it does come to the point where I'm like, we're done. The decision is made.
But these are great answers. And also, I think we have touched upon this times with other workshops we have had in communicating with your team and making them accountable. It's important that as a leader, your team knows that sometimes you're gonna have to make the decision. And sometimes you're gonna make them participate. I use humor a lot and joke about myself because I can become like very bossy when I need something done. And so,
See that?
thank you, thank you. I tend to say I'm a natural born leader. Thank you. So, I can be like, okay, this needs to be done in this and this way. And so people know that about me. And I tend to joke about it a little, right? And to be like, okay, now you're gonna see my, my strong voice, and this is what we're gonna talk about. And now I'm gonna use my collaboration voice, and we all have to come to the table. So those few things that you can use just to kind of like so that people don't think you're crazy. Also, how do you perceive yourself? Because a lot of people do perceive us in a certain way, and then we have this little thing on our head saying, "Oh, people gonna think I'm crazy, but because I'm changing my mind." When you are a leader, clarity is very important. So when you you are clear about what you want, then you can offer that clarity to the people that you're working with. I truly believe that people that are being managed by leaders need a combination of both. I don't think that people feel comfortable making all the decisions as a group all the time. Sometimes they need a lot of guidance, and they're happy to get it if they can get it as well. There you have the people that just want to be told what to do. You have the people that want to have an opinion about everything, but in between, most people fall in between, and sometimes you have to give them freedom and choose what is it that they're going to create themselves, and you're going to just help them out get it started, and things that you're really going to help guide them. And that guidance is super important. Otherwise, it feels a little bit like a child that is making all the decisions and the parent, is not saying anything. They feel lost, right? So that's basically the stuff. Well, good. Who wants to share from the virtual space? I heard a voice over there. No? Hi, April. How are you?
Hi, sorry I'm not well today, so I don't look the best. I apologize, I'm not my best face, getting over a cold. But what I wanted to touch on exactly what you said is also kind of like the going back to leadership skills or styles is the imposter syndrome thing, that kind of sits on you and you're like, can I do this? Will I be a good leader? How can I engage and yet be firm? And I thought I couldn't get myself off mute before, so I apologize, but that's just what I wanted to.
Yeah. The imposter syndrome can be a big issue. I think that it happens more, and I'm not saying in any specific way that you guys don't feel attacked. It happens a lot more to women than men. We are used to not having so much power in our lives, or we were raised not to have so much power. It happens a lot more to minorities than people in the bigger picture. And that, it requires to do some work on yourself to kind of start feeling confident. I believe that the way you feel confident is not by reading a lot of books, it's by trying things little by little and then proving to yourself that you can get them done. So it's kind of a process of growth, a process of personal growth in which you start trusting that you can be that leader that you want to be. And not let them yourself be so influenced by outside opinions of who you are. Eventually, some of the things are going to help you, but I have to say, in my experience, listening to so many people have opinions about who I was took me back a little bit at times and made me doubt myself a lot. So it is important that you keep those things in perspective. You take the things that are useful for you and that can help you grow, and then at the same time, know who you are and be confident for the kind of person that you are. So I have an article I wrote once on the issue of It's imposter syndrome. I presented with the PowerPoints.
Sometimes people focus on what others are saying about them and create that as an identity, where the identity is from within. And knowing who you are is from within and how you see yourself. So,
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way the brain works.
Yeah.
So you have to work a lot on overcoming that and just making your brain not to believe so much what other people are saying. Sometimes they even like people make just a little comment and you take it like down like too hard and starts doubting yourself. And but it's really something that you need to overcome and work on because yeah. So what we are going to do, unless somebody has any comments in the virtual group, we're going to take a little break of 5 minutes because then we're going to move on to characteristics of leaders and so to see what you can apply to your list.
If one thing, if you have not filled out the signed in, said your name and then she said be great.
So we're going to do 5 minutes. We'll be back at 1:19, 9:20.
Okay.
Okay, for the people that are virtual, we're gonna get started again. Hopefully you are around. If you want to turn your camera on so we can see you, we'll please do that.
Let me do it for 12 quarters, but.
All right, so let me make sure I'm recording. Yes, it is recording.
Well, we were. Well, I see it here we go.
Okay, so let's talk about this. I have another question. That where's my question? No, it's not here. I had it. Well, it's here, printed.
Sure.
But it's probably gonna pop up in the wrong order. So sorry about that. But one of what I wanted to ask, which is something that you already kind of answered for me right in the beginning, are what are the characteristics of a good leader? What would you say if you want to share with me things that you have seen in other leaders that you feel are good characteristics?
Honesty.
Honesty, okay?
That was one.
Uh-huh.
Computers.
Being good communicators. Uh-huh. Transparency. Although leaders cannot be transparent about everything, right? You are put in a position in many times the kind of information that you have access to is confidential, other people can't have access to, and you're sandwiching in between, the top and the bottom, and you gotta be very selective about what you can share, but yeah, transparency is important. Anything else? Open-minded. Yeah, flexibility. Think about things a little bit differently sometimes, right? Anything else? Boundaries. Knowing how to manage boundaries. Yes, there must be boundaries when you are a leader. Yeah.
You have to care.
Uh-huh.
You can't be a leader and not care.
Right. Awesome. Anybody in the virtual group that wants to share about characteristics they feel are important on leaders?
If I may speak, I would hope that a person will be able to remain objective until all of the information is shared or gathered.
Uh-huh. Objectivity is important. And I had one participant, I didn't get to catch her name, that was speaking, but we couldn't hear. Try again. There you go, Olivia. No, we can't hear you. Do you want to type your answer on the chat and I'll check it out? We can do that. We're going to check the chat and see, because the voice is not coming through. Yes, so all of those are important characteristics in a leader. And the thing that I want to start with is the things, personality traits that diminish the potential for people to become leaders. Okay. It's not that they cannot be overcome, but if you naturally have these kind of traits in your personality, is you have to do extra work to get them. So the first one is you pursue status, not a purpose.
That's what count.
And a lot of people are in rules of leadership because they are pursuing their ego and what they feel they need to accomplish and demonstrate to somebody. The reasons for that may be totally different for each single person, but we all know all those leaders that are, whose ego is not really in touch with the mission and the vision of an organization.
Isn't that something that you can only do if you are 100% honor? Because there is people who really need to do that for the industry they are. I had the pleasure one time to meet Ralph Lauren, and he said to me, the only opinion in this building that counts is mine.
That's all kind of style. We don't use that anymore. Ralph Lauren may have been very successful at doing what he did. And I don't think it specifically applies to the audience we are talking to today, right? Because we have people that are doing nonprofits and mission-based in our audience. Corporations are a totally different word, and egos are big on that aspect. So yes, I guess Ralph Lauren was successful, and a lot of people that build like a lot of money were successful, and corporates can be very successful if they have an ego-driven kind of leaders, which are still there, but doesn't necessarily make people engaged and happy, except for money. And that's why we have so many unhappy people in the planet. Okay, one of the reasons. There are other reasons too. The other thing that is difficult to overcome that you have to work with is if you categorize individuals into boxes, you believe that personalities are right, including yours. It's going to be difficult to be a good leader.
It's the majority of people, I think.
Most of us do that. It's a natural reaction, right? But if you get stuck into putting people into boxes and you don't know, give yourself the opportunity to get to know the person as a whole, it's very difficult to be a good leader. We are all humans are made of many different parts, and we all have different aspects to our personality, right? We are not one type of a person. And leaders who kind of like, including themselves, that feel like this is my personality and there's nothing I can do about it, will have very little opportunity for personal growth and their growth to be a good leader. There are leaders out there that are like that, and we're talking about good leaders now. The other thing is you are averse to risk. Being a leader requires to take a lot of risks at times. And if you're having a hard time making decisions, that's going to be a deterrent for you to make. So we're going to talk about that in the good qualities and so on. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people have really a difficult time making decisions, and it can be hard for them to be leaders because it's a big weight on their shoulders to kind of try to. So sometimes you may have a participatory kind of a process with your staff, but then at the end of the day, you have to make the decision anyway, right? Or you have to balance the different points of view, and you have to be the person that is going to say, hey, we're going to go this way. If you have a hard time making decisions, that may be difficult for you to be a leader. It's something that you can work on. It's not like a definitive, right? The other thing is if you don't appreciate people, you waste your talent instead of keeping it, right? You don't really work, and you are solely or only focus on goals and processes, ignoring the people. That's another one. So one of the best advices I heard when I kind of like was kind of a manager was the fact that, if I focus only on the results and forgot about the people, I wasn't going to get anywhere. And it was true. So those are the things that we want to consider when we're thinking about developing our own qualities as leaders, and what are the things that we can see in ourselves, if we can see them, that we may want to overcome. So let me move this group over here. Anybody has anything that they want to add to this slide? No? Okay, so I'm gonna give you 10 personality traits that or ways of being that have good potential for leadership. I'm trying to get rid of this the top one. Okay, there we go. First one is self-awareness. That is super, super important. You keep working on yourself and getting to know yourself first. The next one, and we're gonna go over each one of them, is to have vision and purpose, effective communication. You lead by example. You are adaptable and flexible. You empower and delegate people. You build strong relationships. You have a decision-making process that is practical for you. You are engaged into continuous learning. And you are also a follower. So let's go to each one of them. Self-awareness, the first one. It's so key to know your strengths and weaknesses, right? A self-aware leader makes better decisions and connects with their team. So, for example, like we were talking just before, if I know that, sometimes I may come on too strong, I wanna either learn how to handle that or learn my staff know that, sometimes I'm gonna come out too strong or, work on developing strategies to kind of manage that so people are not scared of me, right? So it kind of strengths and weaknesses. The strengths you want to grow, and the weaknesses you want to diminish somehow in some manner, right? There is a book called Strength-Based Leadership. Great way to think about yourself and what are your strengths so that you can develop those more so you don't work, you work from a strength-based kind of situation. So when you are self-aware, you can make many better decisions and you are able to connect with your team more effectively as well. The next one is vision and purpose. And, you may have a vision, but if you can't express it, then, how are people going to know? So you have to have clarity on what your vision is, and this will help you motivate your team. So explaining your goal to your teams and talking to them and giving them actually, that inspiration that they need to get where they need to be is super, super important. Communication is the next one, effective communication. So when you are effective at communication, you build trust through sharing ideas, to listening to others, to having clear and strong and an open space for them, being transparent as well. What do you think is number one key to have clear communication? We have talked about this before for those students that keep coming. To be clear, communicating what you need. Yeah. Listening.
I think at the top of it, feelings. Number one, I think empathy is huge. Understand where the other person is coming from. Not understanding your own biases.
Oh, very good.
Understanding your own cultural and understand other people's cultural differences and how they feel. Understanding tone and just being very like compassionate in communication, just having that listening ear as well, attentive listening. There's listening and there's attentive listening. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. So what we call active listening. So active listening is the kind of like ability to listen to learn and to listen to kind of share instead of like listening to respond, right? Active listening is very important, and active listening involves everything you said, right? And also another key is to have clarity of your own vision before you say it aloud. So internal clarity is something that you want to pursue as well. Why am I doing that? Constantly asking that question of why. Why am I doing this? What does it drives me to do this? And then how do I pass on the information to the people that are working with me.
Yvonne.
Yes. Sorry.
No, we're gonna connect.
Yes, we'll connect and watch the rest of the video. We're gonna get the link to it. Well, thank you so much for coming in person. Thank you. April, go ahead.
I heard a phrase today that I had not heard before, and I thought it was interesting and applicable because in this Zoom world, and especially that I'm zooming in today, it was a phrase called WAIT, and the expression, it's an acronym for why am I talking? So in active listening, waiting, I just thought that was really interesting because it's so hard on Zoom when you get a moment, it's just a whole new way of learning and speaking and addressing people. But I thought that was a really interesting phrase, like, wait, why am I talking? It's like, oh, that's simple.
Yes, yes, that's excellent. Thank you, April, for sharing. I love that. Very good. Why am I talking, right? Why am I giving my opinion? Thank you so much, April. So the next one is to lead by example. You want to act as a role model professionally and personally, right? You can get your team to do something if you are not demonstrating the same thing. If you are not taking lunch, like 30 minutes to take lunch in a different space at your office, you are not going to get your team to take lunch separately, taking a break. You have to demonstrate what you want your team to do. Same thing with accountability. If you are not a leader that is accountable, right, for what they're supposed to deliver, it's very hard that people will follow. If they see you by example, not everybody, but most likely they will follow your lead. The next one is adaptability, being flexible, adapt to change. One of the things that you can know for sure in life is there's going to be changes. Nothing is going to ever stay the same. And leaders have to face a number of changes during their leadership time and, adapt and help the team adapt to what is happening, right? There's unpredictable, the only predictability we have in life is unpredictability, right? Yeah. So it's that ability to be able to change and adapt if it's necessary. There's no funding, we gotta do something else. There is, COVID hit, we have to do something else. That kind of attitude. The next one is to be able to empower and delegate to people. Trust your team. Know that they are going to do what is necessary and let them take ownership over what is happening, right? Trust them, delegate effectively, be fair with everybody, give the work in a way that everybody feels that they are part of it. This also helps your team members grow, which is something that you want, because the moment you're not there, you want people to be able to take over and you don't have to worry about it. You want to take vacation and not get a phone call because people not to resolve, right? To resolve what's happening. You want to be able to, go somewhere and don't have to worry because your team is taking over and you can trust them. But the only way you get there is by delegating and trusting your team. Build strong relationships. Invest in positive team relationships. Invest on the people that are working with you, especially in the service industry, right? We are not machines. We are not AI. We are not doing things automatically. We are people, and people come first. So you want to make sure that you value each member of your team. You get to know them. You ask them how they are. You ask them for their family. If they tell you a problem that they're going on, you follow up and you check in with them. That's a good leader, right? You need to know your team members by name. You gotta create a productive and collaborative. Next one, decision making. Okay, so making decisions is one of the most difficult things that we have to go through every day. From picking lunch, right, to what we're gonna wear every day. That's our these activities take a lot of energy from the brain. So, and making decisions when you are a leader can become very difficult over time and very tiring, and you end up burnout. So if you develop a way that you can make your own decisions, based on information, risk, and so on, you will be able to have an easier time making decisions because at some point it's gonna come down that you're gonna have to make a couple of decisions during the day. As simple as like, do we throw this old share away and somebody comes to you to ask you, or making a big decision of how we spend this money that was just given to us. It's just you have to have a good analysis to make it easier for you. And also, when is it that I'm going to consult people? When I'm going to participate? When is it that is the stakes are high and maybe I should be making my own decisions, whether it is, an immediate decision or not. Go ahead, Katie.
Just gonna add to that, 'cause I do think you also have to, be okay with the decision that you do make.
Mhm.
And I think some people do learn to be able to make a decision, but then they spend hours regretting that decision
Uh-huh.
when they shouldn't. Stick to it and
Uh-huh.
be okay with the decisions that you make.
That's so funny you mentioned that because yesterday I was listening to a lady on, one of those feeds in Instagram, and she was talking about making decisions, right? And we make it so difficult for ourselves because we always think about like what could have been, but in reality, you will never know how the opposite decision will have turned out. Do I go to this school or this other school? Oh, maybe I should have gone to this school instead of this one that I picked. But how do you know? You will never know how it will have turned out to the other one. So yes, lingering on decisions can be like really hurtful for yourself because you really never know how a different decision will have influenced the situation differently. So it's important to move on, how to adapt. That's when you bring in, like, if the decision wasn't a good decision, okay, what do we do next? We focus on the next thing. The next one is continuous learning. This is very important for leaders and their teams, right? You stay committed to professional development. Like our group over here was saying, you attend training, you learn a new thing every day, you listen to a book, or you read a book, or you watch documentaries, or you watch a TED Talk. Whatever it is that you want to engage in that helps you open your mind would help you become a better leader. And this will never change and it will stay forever because things change every day as well. So whatever we learned 10 years ago, maybe it's not applicable anymore. So continuous learning is key. Learning about yourself, learning about the environment. Resiliency. This is huge, right? Yeah, there are a lot of challenges that leaders have to overcome. And so, and staying positive and knowing how to manage difficult situations is key. How do you become more resilient? It's a theoretical question. Go ahead, Sharon, were you going to say something? Become more resilient. Yeah. We practice. We really go through difficulties to become more resilient. We keep talking about the current generation and how kids are not resilient, but if we are not exposing them to risk, how to be resilient? Same thing with us. If we don't take risk, and dare to do some things that may not turn out so well, how are we ever going to become resilient?
I don't think we can stay focused on negative things that happen. It helps us get answer.
Right.
Just gotta go through it and just, don't stay in the moment. Just like, you gotta think positive about it. Gonna get over this. It's not, and build yourself up.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. They stay because they want to stay in that negative moment because it's so soothing. It's comfortable.
Starting to just.
Right.
With that moment.
It's comfortable.
Right.
It's comfortable.
Being a victim is easy only at the moment you're being a victim, but it makes your life harder. And so, overcoming is really key. And yes, I mean, you don't have to be happy. There are real life tragedies that are terrible, right? But most of the situations that we go through life can help us overcome and learn something new. So we turn around and we are a different person than we were before because of all the lessons we learned from difficulty.
So what do you bring into the party?
So what party? The pity one.
The pity party. Yeah, being stuck in negativity is really hard. It doesn't mean that you have to be positive about everything in your life. but it means that you can move on. Think about what you're gonna focus in the future, right? How you're gonna change things for yourself.
Being kind to yourself for not being,
Yourself out.
being so hard on yourself.
Yeah. And the last one is that leaders must know how to follow. So you are not always at the front. Sometimes you have to be on the back. That will show your support for your team. That will show that you are willing to listen. That will show that you know that you are not perfect and you have a lot to learn. And I assure you, if you learn how to follow, you will get a lot more results than if you are leading all the time. So let's check on the time. Good. I only have one more slide to go, which is, and I'm really glad I have a few managers in the audience because this is the one that talks about what to do to support people to get into leadership roles. So we saw at the beginning, what are the things that keep people from moving into the leadership roles? Sometimes as managers, we see people with a lot of talent, but are not stepping up. They're having a hard time to step up. And if they want to stay there, it's fine. You know, they may not be ready. But for those people that are ready and that you kind of like can see that they have a lot of potential, here are a few things that you can do. First of all, be inclusive, right? You may have some jewels in your team that because they are quiet or they have a difference between them and the other people in the team, you may not notice. You want to have different opinions and different kinds of people in your team, and you want to create different kind of leaders because they all bring a different background that is useful and helps you learn and your team learn. So being inclusive is key. The first thing to think about. So individuals that have the potential to take risks, you want to encourage them. You just want to say it's okay to take a risk. And if you make a mistake, it's all right, we are going to learn from it. There's no mistakes, everything is learning experience. Give them that reassurance that screwing up may be okay sometimes. It's the only way that you're gonna learn. And when you things don't come out perfect, it's when you learn the most. Versus when everything comes perfect, you don't learn a lot. Let me see, I have a comment in the chat here. I wanna see what it was. Probably my answer. Okay, somebody was thanking for the engagement. So the next one is to help them manage conflict appropriately. Conflict is part of everyday life. Conflict has a bad rep. So it's like good conflict, like the one that helps us grow. If you help people manage conflict appropriately, there will be more chances that they will be willing to take risks. People hate conflict. And many times people do not get into leadership because of that. Invest in the professional development. If you help people grow, they will give you back what you need. And as a leader, investing on their professional development is key. There are a lot of opportunities out there, but not so costly that can help your team grow. Give them smaller projects to try out leadership. If you feel they're hesitant, you can give them like things, very small projects that do not have a lot of consequences so that they can build that resilience they need. If they fail, it's okay. Just give them a little bit of responsibility. And with next workshop, we are going to learn about how to coach your team so you can get them to where you need them to be. Okay, we are gonna learn what is the coaching management style and get people to learn. You have to go. Go ahead. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Very nice to join you. Yes.
So yes, on our next workshop, we will have the opportunity to talk about what is how do you coach your team, what's the questioning style, and everything else at Tishuga. So that's what I have for today. Like I said before, this is our next workshop. We will be sending the points, the survey. I don't know if anybody has any departing thoughts, something that they want to share before we go. We have 12 minutes for that. So, no?
Listen, I just had an experience because you're talking about, be inclusive and I lead a team. Was it 13 people, 13 individuals, and we do community-based work out in Bridgeport and all kinds of stuff, but I'm the leader. I have a leader over me. So sometimes we get like these instantaneous things to do, like there's a family and everybody has to move. And I have to find people that live closer, because I live in Norwalk, that kind of thing, so. We were hit with like, we have to do a video for this big thing that you're doing at an event, and we're like, I don't know how to do it, you know, this and I didn't know, I reached out to the team and I was like, okay. Somebody has to help out, does anybody not do this and anybody else do that? No one answered. Okay, in the meantime, we have like a couple hours to decide this. And I'm reaching back out, and then I just got serious and I said, I can't do this by myself. And lo and behold, someone reached out and said, let me get my daughter, let me get my son or my sister. And before you know it, they put the video together like in no time. So sometimes you do have to, you know, encourage in that sense, like, you know, because everybody thinks like, well, if I put it together, you may not like it. Or they're like, well, I don't know, or whatever. So it's kind of like getting to know everybody and know their abilities on the team. Just giving everybody the opportunity to take that risk of it's okay. And you know, she constantly kept saying, do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it? And like, it's okay. You know, it's fine. You know, we had to do it.
Yeah, and you point out something very important, Sharon, that also to be a leader, you have to be vulnerable at times and be able to admit, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
And without you, I can't do it. So help me out. Ask for help, right?
Absolutely. I was shocked because you know, I felt like I was a little bit obnoxious. But I had to get this done.
Right.
This is it. Wait, this like Saturday, and I'm like, oh. And you figure a team of 13 people, somebody know how to do something.
It's a little bit, right?
A bit of something.
So it takes for you to be like, you know, I can't do it without you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to say something? No? Let me see, I have a couple things in the chat. See if anybody wants to express their opinion. Oh, April is so sweet. She says she can't say enough of great things about this series, and collaborating and learning from others is amazing. Thank you, April. And we have a couple of thank yous there, thumbs up. Anybody? Oh, Michelle, your hand is up. Yay. You want to share?
Sure. The most important thing to me is to have an open mind, be willing to listen to what everyone has to say.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you for coming to the workshop.
I hope to be in there.
Anybody else?
I hope to be there in person next time. Thanks so much for.
Good to see you.
Take care, everyone.
You too. Keep an eye for the email, the survey, and the video, and we will see you next time. Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.